Good morning. Thank you for making it at 8:30. I hope it wasn't too burdensome. We appreciate everybody coming out. Are we good to go? Time-wise? Okay, great. Well, good morning, and thanks everyone for joining us. COVID-19, I think as we can... Sorry. Is this someone's? Am I touching someone's stuff? Sorry. COVID-19, I think as we can all agree without a doubt, has truly changed the dynamic of everyone's life, their home life, their work life. But what has not changed is our commitment to protecting the New Hampshire citizens and the New Hampshire advantage. In the middle of a global pandemic, Massachusetts has launched a direct attack on the defining feature of the New Hampshire advantage and has taken actions to undermine New Hampshire's sovereignty. Earlier this year, Massachusetts adopted a temporary emergency regulation declaring for the first time that non-resident income received for the services performed outside of Massachusetts would be subject to Massachusetts income tax. We attempted to resolve this without having to go to court, and we even proposed modifications for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that would have addressed our concerns. Unfortunately, our proposals have fallen on deaf ears. Massachusetts has made this decision this past Friday to approve new and permanent rules to continue to confiscate income from Granite Staters during the global pandemic. Today we're filing a lawsuit in the United States Supreme Court to stop this unconstitutional overreach. Massachusetts cannot balance its budget on the backs of our citizens, punish our workers for making the decision to work from home, and keep themselves and their families and those around them safe. New Hampshire has no choice but to seek relief in our nation's highest court. We're going to fight this unconstitutional attempt to tax our citizens every step of the way, and we are going to win. I want to thank Attorney General Gordon MacDonald and, frankly, his entire team for all of their work in preparing for today. It is a day that we hoped we wouldn't have to come to. We tried many different ways to resolve this with the Commonwealth, but again, the team here within the state of New Hampshire just did an outstanding job, not just preparing the case, but making the case, which is clear, which we have a lot of confidence will be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. And like we said, we're going to protect these citizens every step of the way on this unconstitutional attack on our sovereignty. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Attorney General Gordon MacDonald.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning. As Attorney General, the most important duty I have is to protect the people of New Hampshire and our collective interests as a sovereign state. That is exactly what we are doing today. At the direction of Governor Sununu, this morning, the state of New Hampshire is filing a bill of complaint and supporting pleadings against the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the United States Supreme Court. Last Friday, as the Governor mentioned, Massachusetts adopted as final an administrative rule that taxes income earned by New Hampshire residents while they are working in New Hampshire. In the pleadings filed today, New Hampshire argues that this rule is unconstitutional under both the Commerce and Due Process Clauses of the United States Constitution. New Hampshire is asking the Supreme Court to, 1, declare that the Massachusetts tax rule is unconstitutional. 2, to preliminarily and permanently enjoin Massachusetts from enforcing this rule. And 3, to order the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to refund with interest all the funds collected under this tax rule. We are bringing this action in the United States Supreme Court because under the United States Constitution and applicable federal law, the U.S. Supreme Court has exclusive jurisdiction over disputes involving 2 or more states. After this press conference, we'll be making available our legal pleadings that have been filed today in the U.S. Supreme Court. And out of deference to the process and great respect to the Supreme Court, I will be deferring any comment on the substance of our legal argument to the pleadings that we're making available today. In terms of next steps, Supreme Court Rule 17 applies. That gives Massachusetts the opportunity to respond to the pleadings we filed today. New Hampshire will have an opportunity to reply. The court may ask for additional argument or information, and we expect to have an answer from the Supreme Court about whether they are going to hear this case, hopefully by the end of the year. After that happens, the Supreme Court has discretion about how to handle the matter. It could appoint a special master, or it could take the case on pleadings and legal argument. I want to join the governor and thank him for acknowledging the hard work of our legal team. We've been at this for many, many weeks. And I want to acknowledge our Solicitor General, Dan Will, Senior Assistant Attorney General Jill Perlow, and Assistant Attorney General Sam Garland, who've all worked very, very hard and done extraordinary work to get us to today. Governor, on behalf of the people we serve, I want to thank you for your leadership and support in arriving at this historic moment and in our collective efforts to protect the people of New Hampshire.
Yes. Good morning. Well, this is a case where clearly New Hampshire citizens have been very adversely impacted. You're talking nearly 80,000 citizens that have some work relationship across the border, but it is not unique to New Hampshire and Massachusetts. It is a situation that can arise in different situations between any number of states, not just New Hampshire. While our New Hampshire advantage has us at a zero tax rate, you can spring up into different situations where these temporary rules can be created in a pandemic or financial crisis by one state inflicting on the sovereign rights of another, especially given the remote work atmosphere we currently have, not just here in New England, but across this entire country. So we think it's a very compelling case. We think the arguments are clear, and the sovereignty of not just New Hampshire, but of all states is really at stake. Well, unfortunately, I cannot make the court move faster. As soon as this final announcement was made, I mean, let's remember last month we sent letters, we sent individuals down to speak publicly to the board to hopefully get them to understand that they couldn't make this very aggressive overreach into the state of New Hampshire. Within 5 minutes of hearing that our words had fallen on deaf ears, I instructed the Attorney General to file in the U.S. Supreme Court. So we're moving as fast as we possibly can. And we're going to do everything we can to not let a bureaucracy hold us up on our end. But the court does have a process and a timeline. But this is for the long term. This isn't just in this pandemic. If this were to be allowed to go forward unchecked, it could have repercussions for decades to come. I think she knows that she's in a very tough position, and she's doing anything she can to sugarcoat what is an aggressive overreach. When you have citizens living in New Hampshire and working in New Hampshire, they're not using the services, violating the due process clause in the Constitution. They're not, look, I used to work in Massachusetts, right? I used to work across the border, and part of my taxes got taken out, but I used the roads and the bridges and the water and the resources, and it was, as much as as a New Hampshire citizen, didn't like the Massachusetts part of the income tax coming out of my own paycheck. It was part of their process, and that was it. That was fair. This is an overreach. If you are living and working in this state and you're not taking advantage and using any of those services or utilities of the state of Massachusetts, there is no grounds, and the Constitution is very clear on that, to be taxing individuals from another state. Well, I think some of the alternatives that were brought forth by a variety of different individuals, both in the letters and the public testimony in front of the, I guess it was a commission hearing that they had about a month ago. I think there were a variety of different options there, but the clear and cut case is you can't be taxing citizens if you're sending them home. Let's remember, each of our states, Massachusetts did, we asked folks to go remote work. Right? It wasn't even the citizens' choice in some cases. Yet they're still being taxed based on those requests, or in some cases the demands of the state. Here in New Hampshire, we don't have the issue because we don't have income taxes, and we're never going to have an income tax. And we're going to make sure that anyone who's trying to tax our citizens unfairly, we're going to stand up for them every time.
So, one of the issues that happened across the country in the wake of the Wayfair case is this question of what the state can do about people's behavior, what you can tax and not tax across state lines. So, I talked to some legal experts who say this is a dangerous case for New Hampshire to advance because it could bring a broader issue because the ruling that maybe benefits 84,000 commuters but undermines the ability of New Hampshire and other states with their own minimum sales tax, et cetera, to protect themselves. Are there any concerns that can be doing in that?
Go ahead, Gord. I don't think so.
Of the broader issue of what you can stop other states from crossing the line?
No, we have no concerns about that.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much. We appreciate everyone coming out. Obviously, it's a key issue. We'll be keeping an eye on it, and hopefully, hopefully the court will be taking the case up. By like as the Attorney General said, hopefully by the end of the year, move things along and provide these protections for our citizens sooner than later. Oh, sorry. Do you have one? Go ahead. I think it's closer to 80. I think there's about 100,000 that work out of state. Some go to Maine, some go to Vermont, some might go to Rhode Island or Connecticut. I want to say about 75 to 80, maybe even a little more, is strictly to Massachusetts, which is why, while other states are we're impacted by similar rulings in other states, it's so significant with Massachusetts just because of that extremely large population going into the state of Massachusetts.
If you get a favorable ruling and you happen to see the governor, would you use the power of the state to help individual commuters get that money back? Would you be involved with whether it be ruling or not saying that?
Well, I suppose first it would depend on the ruling itself, what the ruling actually says, and then of course, if there was any opportunity to recoup, if it is truly retroactive in case, and there was an opportunity to do that, we're always going to try to find a way to get justice, if you will, for New Hampshire citizens that not were unduly taxed, but with those dollars actually out of their pockets. You always want to be able to bring balance to that system.
I would just add to that, as I stated, part of the relief that we're seeking, you'll see in the bill of complaint that's going to be made available, is we're asking for an order from the United States Supreme Court directed to the Commonwealth to refund all the taxes collected plus interest.
Has the state ever successfully forced another state to make a similar ruling? Not necessarily on sales tax, but
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Gordon. Oh, I'm going to give you it.